Alright, what's up ladies and gentlemen, Spicy Band 808 here with another reaction video today. We're going to be taking a look at the video called "The US Military is Everywhere." I anticipate that this video is going to show all of the countries that the United States has military bases on. Just off the top of my head, we have bases all over the Pacific Ocean, all of the islands in the Pacific. We also have bases in Germany. We have bases in South Korea, Japan. Yeah, it's crazy. And I know that there's like a lot of anti-American sentiment because the world sees America as like trying to be like world police and stuff like that. Case in point, the United States government, keeps fighting everybody else's war and stuff like that. I get it. Whether you like it or not, I sometimes find it as a tough pill to swallow. The United States has become a superpower, and it doesn't surprise me that they have military bases all over the place. I think it's a bit overkill, to be honest. But it does explain where all of the money is going and why the country is in debt. Anyway, let's go ahead and check out the video.
Imagine a world where the most powerful country on Earth in 2021 wasn't the United States, but rather Spain. And instead of setting up military bases just in their own country, they also set up bases all around the world. Lots of those bases are in former colonies, but also there's a bunch in the United States. Just imagine this. You zoom into Fayetteville, North Carolina, and you see a huge military base. But it's not a US military base, it's a Spanish base on American soil, with lots of homes for the Spanish soldiers and their families, powerful weapon systems, aircraft, all run by the Spanish military. Go inside of one of these bases and it's all Spanish restaurants. Americans can't come in here unless they work for the Spanish government. And then imagine 100 more of these, all throughout the United States on American soil, and hundreds of more throughout the world.
Oh, it's a what-if situation.
Or shift the scenario a little bit. What if it was a country that wasn't our ally? A country like China. What if they had military bases, not in the US, but right up close to our border? Powerful weapon systems right off our shores in islands in the Caribbean. If you're an American, you have to imagine what that would feel like. If you're not an American, it's likely you already kind of know what this feels like. The United States has an extensive network of military bases outside of our borders. Hundreds of bases. I've been fascinated for a very long time about understanding these US foreign bases abroad, but I've never actually taken the time to accurately map them. So let's do it. Let's map every single US military base around the world. It turns out, that's a huge task.
This is the story of the men of the United
That
States
is
Army who
crazy.
made this project possible, and of man's never-ceasing quest for knowledge.
Did he actually do that? There's got to be some classified bases.
This is a full armored division. To give you an idea of size, each of those small dark squares includes more than 1,000 men.
The United States military is bigger than any of us can really fathom. It's so big that even the US military doesn't know how big the US military is. Back in 2018, 1,200 independent accountants and analysts came in to try to audit the US Department of Defense. To basically try to get like a paper trail of how big this thing is, how much money it spends, etc. And the Department of Defense didn't pass the audit. Like they literally did not have the documents or the knowledge to really piece together a full.
Either that or they were not at liberty to say or get anywhere close to giving a factual number, probably.
Scope of what this organization is, how big it is, how much money it spends. So we don't know. Nobody knows how big the Pentagon is in all of its forms. All we do know is that objectively, it is one of the, if not the largest
and most powerful organization on the planet and in the history of humanity. I mean, if you have a organization that's more powerful than the Department of Defense in the history of humans, like, let me know. I want to know about it. But as far as I can tell, there's nothing bigger and more powerful than the United States military in 2021. And much of the US military is not actually in the US, but is actually outside of our borders, all around the world.
This post is somewhere in Germany, overlooking a sector of the Iron Curtain.
One of the first things that Joe Biden and his administration did when they came into power a couple of weeks ago down the road was ask for an assessment of how big is our military presence around the whole world? What is our strategy? And what actually does this presence look like?
The department will conduct a global force posture review of U.S. military footprint, resources, and strategies.
Footprint. I like that. That's like a nice thing. Like, what's our footprint? How big is our footprint around the world? We don't really know. The Pentagon is gonna start to try to assess that. So let's help the Pentagon out and try to map every single United States base around the entire world.
A very tall order.
Let's do it.
Damn. Damn. He must be a little crazy to attempt something like this.
It wasn't too long ago when I used to think that having military bases in other countries was totally normal. Like, doesn't every country have like military bases in other countries? Yeah. Anyway, this was sort of reinforced for me when I was in college. I did an internship at NATO, with the headquarters of NATO, which was in Brussels. To get this job, I had to get a secret security clearance from the US government in order to enter the military base, which was NATO. This was really cool because there was always like people coming through NATO that I got to meet, like my diplomacy hero, Madeleine Albright, who used to be the Secretary of State, or this guy.
It's a great honor representing the country abroad for the last 37 years.
Good old Joe. Hey, Joe. Had no idea you'd be president someday. Anyway, the big benefit of having this secret security clearance is that I could go into any military base anywhere. And so on Saturdays, I would drive an hour from Brussels to a little village in the Belgian countryside where a military base had been sort of plopped down in the middle of the Belgian countryside, in between like stone walls and quaint streets and sheep and farming plots. Yeah, it's a little blurry in this map because it's, you know, a military base and sometimes they blur the satellite imagery. Nothing I can do about it, sorry. And as soon as I entered into the base, went through all the security and I was in the base, I felt like I had left Belgium and was suddenly entering suburban America.
Welcome to the United States.
There was a Taco Bell and movie theaters with American movies and all sorts of shops and like yoga studios and like a grocery store that had all of the products that I was very used to, all at the same prices I could get them in the United States, even though they had been flown across the Atlantic and brought to this place, which is a very expensive thing to do. It was a dream for me as a poor college kid living in Brussels and feeling a little bit homesick, to be honest. I hadn't really figured out culture shock at this point. So yeah, I kind of loved it. And I was, again, sort of like, doesn't everyone have military bases in other countries and they can sort of just go to their military base? And it was just, I was so naive.
That's nuts.
Alas, I've learned the truth. Luckily, I was able to talk to somebody who literally wrote the book on US military bases abroad.
Most US bases abroad look like not so small US towns.
Over the years, David has been researching and compiling a database of all the US bases around the world. The result is a very detailed audit that hasn't really ever been done to this degree. In fact, a few years ago, the Pentagon's own research arm, the RAND Corp, was doing some research on military bases abroad. And instead of using the Pentagon's list of US military bases abroad, these guys used David's list. Like, they used David, he was like, he's a professor, he's like an anthropologist, he's not like a part of DOD, and yet they're like, this list that he made is actually more authoritative than like the Pentagon's own list.
I mean, I'm sort of honored, but it's not a good sign if the Pentagon research arm is using my list and not the Pentagon's own list.
So I got a hold of David's
that's crazy.
list and started wrestling with the data and finding a way to display it on a map that I could get every single base to show somehow.
You mean to tell me the United States government trying to conduct an investigation on how big of a footprint that the United States military is upon the entire world, trying to collect data and information in every single U.S. base in another country, and the Pentagon decided to cut some corners and looked up this guy who wrote a book about U.S. bases? Ooh. Considering the manpower they have? That's kind of cringe. Not gonna lie. That's kind of cringe.
After a few weeks of doing this, I finally have a map. And that map looks like this.
Wow. Hold on. Oh wait. Keep going.
Every dot on this map is a US military base or installation of some sort in a different country. Many of these dots are not placed exactly where the base is.
Okay, I'm gonna pause it right here. Okay, so. Jeez. Okay, so. Northern Japan, Southern Japan, Western Japan, and then, Korea. Wow, they got a lot of bases in South Korea. I thought they only had a handful. This is crazy. They have that much bases in South Korea? That's nuts.
Because many of these bases are clustered in areas, and if I tried to map them all in the exact spot where they really are, they would all just sort of stack on top of each other and you wouldn't really be able to see them. But these dots represent every single base outside of the United States, from huge complexes the size of Rhode Island to small airstrips, little facilities that only house American drones or radar or supplies. This is all of them, and at least all that we know of. And if you look at this map and you see a base that you know of that is not here, or one that is there that doesn't belong there, tell me about it. I want to know, because this is sort of hard information to ascertain. The Pentagon is not very transparent, and neither are host countries about where certain bases are and why they exist.
Many of the bases around the world their existence is due to an agreement between the two countries that is often not open to the public, that is secret.
Any errors here are mine and not David's. All in all, the number here is about 750. 750 US military bases, big and small, outside of the United States. By outside of the United States, I'm including US territories that are not equal to the United States, like Guam, Puerto Rico, etc. But in reality, we probably don't know the real number because that data just simply is not transparently available to us. There are a couple major clusters here where the most bases exist. One major one is Germany, and the others are Japan and South Korea. These are basically holdovers from World War II and the subsequent Korean War, when the US, who won the war, came in and occupied these countries in order to set up a new government, write a new constitution, and to help the post-war transfer to a new government. But what's most interesting to me aren't these clusters that came about because of World War II, but instead the far-flung, sort of unexpected or little-known places that the US military has a little footprint. Like all the dots in Africa, which have popped up in recent years as the US has expanded its presence there. These are usually small installations that hold maybe a few soldiers or mainly private citizens who are government contractors. And they mainly house things like drones or radar or weapon systems. You also have this cluster of dots deep in the Indian Ocean, which is the island of Diego Garcia, which I've talked about at length about the U.S. military's role in displacing hundreds of local people to
Disgusting.
set up a base there.
Completely
Some of these
disgusting
dots
shit.
are just airstrips, a runway in the middle of nowhere. And these runways usually
What the United States did to the poor people of Diego Garcia Island. They kicked them off the island. They pushed them out to the closest landmass that they called their mainland. I don't remember the name of that places off the back of my head. But I think I first learned about Diego Garcia and the history behind that. Not in too much detail about how we kicked them out. First of all, I think the United Kingdom owns that territory and they loaned it to the United States, but they still kicked the people out. It literally just pissed me off because that's exactly what happened to Hawaii. They came in, but instead of kicking out the Hawaiians, they just overthrew the government and claimed it as theirs. It's disgusting.
belong to the host country and the US just rents them for a period of time. Like this facility in the middle of the desert in Oman. Places like this exist to hold supplies in case a war breaks out. So the US maintains these stockpiles of war supplies all around the globe so that they can strike at any point without having to ramp up a war economy at home. It takes away a lot of the friction from going to war.
They've made it easier for the US military to launch offensive wars. The wars in Iraq and Afghanistan were easier to launch because the US has maintained a huge infrastructure of bases.
Some of these dots don't represent a place where US soldiers are actually stationed, but instead it represents where money from the Pentagon has gone to influence or build up infrastructure. For example, in Iceland, the US is spending a lot of money, tens of millions of dollars, to upgrade this airport, the airport that we all go through when we're going to Iceland, but doing it for military purposes so that the US can use it, can land there if needed. So next time you land in Iceland on your way to the Blue Lagoon, just know that you're passing by one of these little dots. Over here in the Azores, these islands that are owned by Portugal, nearly 2,000 kilometers away from any landmass, there is a group of US military installations mainly used for refueling and weapon storage. Head up here to Greenland and you'll see a little base way up high, the most northern base in the world where 140 Americans live. Kind of looks interesting. I'd love to go there someday. Way out here in the Pacific,
that's crazy.
You've got loads of remote military bases.
Hold on. Why is there no red dots here? Oh, it's outside of the United... Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I get a little bit defensive when my home state is shown. I'm like, oh, I forgot the videos about outside of the US. Okay. I digress.
Owned by the United States. They're mainly small airstrips, like this base on the southern tip of this huge atoll of the Marshall Islands. All right, listen, I'm not going to explain every single base. There are 750, maybe 800. There's a bunch of bases. I just wanted to give you a flavor of what some of these look like. They're diverse. They're all over the place. And they're fascinating to me. I have been compiling accounts of people who live next to US military bases. I have over 100 accounts from people that, from my call out on Instagram. I want more. I want to make an entire video about life next to a base. And that is why I'm calling upon all of you. I'm going to put a link in my description.
For those of you guys that live pretty close to Area 51, please hit up this individual. It makes for some interesting future content.
Description to like a survey. It's like a form of like what it's like to live next to a US military base. I have it right here. And I'm going to be checking it. You can fill out this form and then I will get your response and I will read through your response and I will use that to construct an understanding of what life is like next to a US military base. I talked to David a bunch about this too. He's done a bunch of research, done a bunch of interviews, and I want to keep talking about this. So if you don't live next to a military base, I want to hear from you, like, What are your thoughts about this? Whether you're an American or not an American, like, does this seem right? Does this seem like the right choice, the right thing for our taxpayer money to be going towards? I'm still making up my mind on a lot of this stuff, and I want to start a discussion. My goal in this video was to just map it, was to just look at it, be able to see it on a map. And I've finally done that. By the way, there will be a high-res version of this map on my Patreon for patrons who sign up for the map background tier. That will be there. So I will be in the comments more than normal for this video, and I want to hear from you. Before you go, I want to say thank you to the people who gave me a lot of footage for this piece. I didn't go out into the desert and the ocean to film for this video. I got a lot of it from Storyblocks, who's the sponsor of today's video. Storyblocks has supported this channel for a long time, and I'm very grateful because Storyblocks is a place where you can get loads of amazing.
Skip forward a little bit.
As much will continue and get in on.
I think that's pretty much it for that. Damn. Let's see. Johnny Harris, you're gonna get a subscribe from me, my friend. I definitely want to check out more videos from you. Go ahead. Link is going to be in the description for this particular video, and you can go ahead and give Mr. Johnny Harris a subscribe. This was very high quality content for me. I really appreciate something like this. 700 something, and that's all that, and it's still going. He's still searching for more, and that on top of that, there's got to be a lot of top secret classified military installations all around the world, owned by the US. That's crazy. Like, comment, subscribe. If you guys got any videos that are very thought-provoking and very interesting that are similar to this, please go ahead and drop links. Oh, well, yeah, drop the links down below. And if it gets, just in case the automod blocks it, and I take too long to go ahead and find all of the blocked messages in the YouTube Creator Studio, just to be safe, go ahead to give the channel name and then the name of the video, and then I will manually go and search it. So that guarantees your comment with a link will not get, you know, blocked from view. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Rock on. Till the next. See you guys later.